Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo saranto suchedoye ulahudi sanmyao sanputoshe.
Namo saranto suchedoye ulahudi sanmyao sanputoshe.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。The unsurpassed, deep, profound, subtle, wonderful Dharma in hundreds of thousands of millions of eons is difficult to encounter. Now that I've come to receive and hold it within my sight and hearing, I vow to fathom the thus come one's true and actual meaning. Venerable Master, Dharma friends, welcome to our sutra lecture this evening. Jin Hosher, would you come? This is the 16th of November, and we're here in Berkeley, California. I'm going up to the library and looking on the table. I need my keys and my phone. They should be together, and I thought I had them, but I don't. If we don't find them right away, don't worry about it. We are looking into the 10 Grounds chapter of the Flower Garland Sutra, and we'd like to invite anybody who is coming forward to please sit up front. We got bunches of empty seats available here for you. And we're going to continue with our investigation of the 10 Grounds chapter, which is the chapter that talks about the bodhisattva path, how to do it. And I'd like to begin by reciting the name of the sutra and the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So let's do that together. We'll do it in Chinese. It's on the front cover of your text there. Namo Da Fang Guang Hua Yin Jing Hua Yin Hai Ho Pu Sa Na Da Fang Guang Hua Yin Jing Hua Yin Hai Hui Ho Pu Sa Na Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yin Jing Hua Yin Hai Hui Ho Pu Sa Na Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yin Jing Hua Yin Hai Hui Ho Pu Sa Na Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yin Jing Hua Yin Hai Hui Ho Pu Sa Na Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yin Jing Hua Yin Hai Hui Ho Pu Sa Na Mo Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yin Jing Hua Yin Hai Hui Ho Pu Sa. All right. Now, some of you drove up from San Jose to get here. Some of you drove over from Contra Costa County, Walnut Creek, through our brand new Caldecott Tunnel's fourth bore to get here. How does it? Is it smooth? Going right through? Nice? Wait, what's that? Uncrowded? No traffic, yeah. Our passage to Contra Costa County, east or west, if you come from there, has increased by 25%. The famous fourth bore. And that's not boring like he's so boring. It's not that bore. It's a bore meaning boring right through the mountain. Is now open. It has been it's an engineering feat from, there is some confusion here. Aha! I thought you were there. All right. Got it. This, should I answer it? It's Jin Hosher saying, Dharma Master, I can't find your phone. Why? It was under my cushion all this time. Oh, isn't that nice that it tells you where it is? Technological marvels. When Jin Hosher comes down, tell him I apologize. I sent him on a genuine wild goose chase. All right. He'll say, Dharma Master, I can't find it. Okay, he's calling back. That's good. I'll put him on the air. I found it. It was here. Thanks. Sorry. Okay. So, others of you came from Marin County. Some came from farther away. Some came from Ukiah, my goodness, all the way down. And before that, Italy and Vietnam and other places. So, how wonderful. Some of you are sitting at home right this minute. And what is happening here that this is feeding back so badly? Okay. Clipping there. Okay. So, we appreciate people's efforts to come to hear the sutra lectured, and because people were so sincere to do that, I want to really deliver the goods tonight under my cushion. So, good, yeah. And let you hear the heart of the bodhisattva. Thank you, thank you. At the expression of compassion from the Avatamsaka Bodhisattva, which is in tonight's talk, in tonight's sutra passage. This is the, what do you say? This is the 100% compassion of the Bodhisattva as the 10 grounds expresses it, as the Avatamsaka expresses it. There's no better place to hear the beating heart of the Mahayana tradition, the great vehicle, than tonight's passage in the 10 grounds, the 5th ground of the Avatamsaka Sutra. So I just wanted to underscore that like 3 times and say, that's what we're going to hear tonight. Why do people like the Flower Garland Sutra and the Bodhisattva Path? It's here tonight. Okay? So just to say that's what we're about tonight. Now, we have the Bodhisattva in our sutra saying very harsh things about us, living beings. That's us. We have problems, according to the Avatamsaka Bodhisattva. We got lots of problems. And he or she has made it their problem. They're going to truly, she is truly going to get involved and make this, going to make it his problem. This is not a couch potato bodhisattva. It's not a sunny weather bodhisattva. This is a true bodhisattva who wants to heal the places that hurt. So, to do so, we read through part of the lists of the bodhisattva's resolve, his doctor's diagnosis. The bodhisattva has his fingers on the pulse of what's wrong with with living beings, with us. And here's what he says. Last week we had the house of the skandhas, we had poisonous snakes, we had arrows of ignorance and views, we had the fire of greed, anger, and delusion. We didn't get to the darkness of ignorance, so that's what we're going to start tonight. If you go from the top of page 40, everybody on page 40 and 41, please go there, first of all. Page 40 and 41. Then go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, line 5, and go halfway over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. From the top, count down 5 and go halfway over where it says, 不能破坏无明黑暗. That's where we're going to start. Everybody find that in the Chinese? Now in the English, you've got to go down. Let's just count from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Line 12 from the top. Or if you count to the bottom of the first paragraph, you go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 from the bottom of the first paragraph. Okay. All right. I'm going to put my palms together and invite people who would like to do that to join me. I'll give you a line and you give it back. 不能破坏无明黑暗，不能干结爱欲大海，不求实力，大圣导师，入魔易抽离。于生死海中，为觉观波涛，之所飘溺。Got it. Good. Over to the right, the demolish darkness of ignorance. Let's do it together. Can we read in unison? They are unable to demolish the darkness of ignorance. They are unable to dry up the great ocean of love and desire. They do not seek the great sagely guide with the 10 powers. They enter the dense forest of the demon's intent in the sea of birth and death. They are tossed about by the waves of awakenings in contemplations. Yeah, I went right past the period in capital letters. Sorry there. All right. In the Avatamsaka, in our sutra, things come in 10s. You always get 10 of this and 10 of that. And so we have 10 problems that living beings have according to the bodhisattva. Now, the bodhisattva, this very wise person who's in deep meditation, is looking right at us the way a doctor looks at a sick person. He says, there's pain and trouble here. This is what living beings, this is what, we've been using they. Who's the they he's talking about? Foolish common people. We discarded those words and went with ordinary normal people. Unawakened people. From the Buddhist point of view, people who are still asleep. He's awake, we're asleep. Those are the ones. That's the they. Those people have funny, symptoms. The symptoms of their illness are the following. Like that. So that's the structure of what you're looking at. This is the bodhisattva doctor, the great king of medicine, looking at living beings and saying, you are spiritually ill. You have a spiritual dis-ease. You are not easy. You are not well. You all, us, he's saying. And these are the things that he says are wrong. So this is just like a doctor's prescription. He's giving you the news after the checkup. And the language is very poetic. It's lots of images, right? It's natural images, images from nature. Because he's describing an illness that regular herbs and pills and powders and potions won't cure. It's not an illness that you can take an aspirin and get better. This is an illness of the spirit. It's a soul disease, if you might say. And it makes us sick nonetheless. He's giving you that diagnosis, so he uses natural language, language from nature. What are the images? Well, flowing along with birth and death, unable to return. You think of a river. In the house of the skandhas and not trying to get out. A house of the skandhas. Skandhas are components of our personality. That's our bodies and our minds, the things that make us who we think we are. And he describes them as a house, a place. It's like a structure, it's a dwelling, and it's a dangerous dwelling. Often the same words have fire in front, so it's a house on fire, a burning house. This time it's just a house, but it traps us there. We don't want to get out of our bodies and minds, which means we're heading for death for sure. So that's the context of that. What else? The poisonous snakes of the four elements, earth, air, fire, and water, are things that make up our bodies, are poisonous snakes. What do poisonous snakes do? They bite you and you get really sick and sometimes you die. So he says that's what we're like. That's where we are. We're about to be bitten by the body, earth, air, fire, and water, fall apart and we die and we suffer. It's the same as if we were bitten by snakes, right? It's not that earth or the bones of your body is a snake. It's a metaphor. It's picture language, allegorical language. All right, what else? He says they can't pull out the arrows of arrogance and views. Arrogance, thinking that I'm really special, that I'm more important than the person next to me, or its opposite, which is low self-esteem, that I'm not the same as the person next to me. I'm not up to that person. Both are wrong ways, in unhelpful ways of looking at my life. Both of those are wrong. Furthermore, views, thinking that, for example, the fundamental rules of humanity don't apply to me. I can lie, I can kill, I can steal, I can lust, and nothing happens. Those kind of views, he says, are like an arrow. Now, we don't use arrows much. We pretty much have gone to guns, to bullets instead of arrows. But it wasn't very long ago, a couple centuries, when arrows were the number one weapon, before gunpowder became the standard basis for weaponry. Arrows would kill you, for sure. They still will, but people don't use them very much. And arrogance and views will kill our wisdom. All right, now we're caught up. Okay, that's where we start tonight. Here we go with the new list, the final of the list of 10 things that are wrong with us. Our 10 symptoms that make us sick. What is it? Oops, I left one out. The fire of greed, anger, and stupidity, we lectured last week. The 3 poisons, greed, anger, and stupidity, he says, they're a fire, and we can't put them out. We don't know to put them out. We don't recognize them as an illness. Now, tonight, demolish the darkness of ignorance. Okay. This is a funny word. Why? It's really common. It's a basic Buddhist word, but in English, it's an insult. You call somebody ignorant, and you're pretty much guaranteed to turn them off. They don't want to hear any more from you. Your chances of explaining what you mean are done. So, in the Buddhist Sutra, it's not an insult. This is not a slanderous word. You're ignorant, meaning I don't like you, or I want to hurt you with the tone of what I'm saying. No, it's not that. It's a technical term. This is actually just the same as saying it's 110 volts, or your light bulb is burned out. Okay? If somebody says, oh, your bulb's burned out, you don't take that as an insult. You go replace the bulb, right? It's just a fact. You don't get light because the filament is broken, or you crack the bulb and the vacuum went out, or whatever it might be. It's that kind of word. It's a technical term, which means wu ming in Chinese, avidya, lack of light. Ignorance means the lights are out in you. Really? Not so much that the lights are out, it's that something covers the light. If you have a very bright light, like say a projector, but what do? You put a little notebook over the projector lens. The projector light was so bright, went dark. All you have to do is move the book off the table. Oh, the projector shines again. Okay, that's a common way of where you just put a lid. Sometimes projectors have a lens cap. So ignorance is that. It just means something covers the light. Okay, more metaphor. This is picture language. That is to say, our natures shine brightly, says the Buddha. We are fundamentally bright. Our Buddha nature, your Buddha nature, is a radiant thing. But we cover it over. We cover it over with ideas, with fear. We cover it over with low self-esteem or arrogance. You could actually plug in this entire list of things the Bodhisattva is saying, and each one would do to be something that covers over the light of our nature. Okay? So that's what it means, technical term. To say somebody lacks light is not a slam, but mostly you won't get a chance to explain that. You say, "Are you ignorant?" Somebody's going to go, "Says who?" Followed by a punch to the nose. So it's a difficult word to use the way the sutras are using it. The Bodhisattva is saying, right, they're covered over by stuff. And every time we run outside looking to wake up with a new technique, a new method, a new pill, a new mantra, a new formula, a new diet, the coverings increase instead of decreasing. And that's a really interesting situation. Because why? If you took what I said at face value, someone might say, well, wait a minute. If every step outside covers us over more, why meditate? Are you fooling us with all this stuff? Precepts, concentration, and wisdom? No, you can't not cultivate, but it's really important to understand the direction of our cultivation. For a long, long time, I meditated hoping to get enlightened. I really did. I thought, boy, the more I meditate, the more I'm going to get enlightened. And as soon as I get it, I can stop meditating because I hate this. It's painful. What a pain. Sitting here, you know. But I had that firmly in my mind that I was going to get enlightened by meditating. And can you sit a long time and get enlightened? Well, theoretically, it's possible, I suppose. But as soon as you have the notion, I get, immediately you're going wrong. You're running away from the real direction. And all you have to do is add 2 more words, and it's right. Which is what? I get rid of. I meditate to get rid of the things that are covering my nature right now. Why did I lose my microphone? Interesting. Hello. Okay, there we go. So if we meditate to get rid of, then we don't even have to meditate at that point. Meditation is a really good method, but if you said I cultivate to get rid of, that's really good. There are very wise teachers of times past who didn't meditate at all, but equally woke up. I'm thinking of Master O.E. Zhi from the Ming Dynasty. He was famous for reciting sutras. He was a sutra reciter. And any practice, once you get the direction right, any practice, any way of working hard, that takes you to that place called I Shin Bulan. Can we get another sutra copy? Do we have any more sutra text? Meditate to the place where our mind is concentrated and no longer scattered or confused. When we get to that place, then we are cultivating to remove the coverings, all right? So this is a detail, but I wanted to point that out because it's part of ignorance. That was a huge revelation for me when I realized that by letting go of the notion that I was going to get something, increase and add to what I already had, and that was the road to enlightenment, that was upside down. But to be able to let that go and see the actual process, which is removing the greed, the anger, delusion, the pride, the doubt, the attachments, the craving, the self, the ignorance, was the actual road to awakening. That was the process. Suddenly, the sutra came into focus. Before that time, it always seemed like I was kind of working against myself. And I kept waiting for something to happen to finally get the good news and get the gift and get the reward. Score! You know, and that's very frustrating because in the Shurangama they talk about polishing a rock into a mirror. No matter how long you polish, you're not going to turn a rock or a brick into a mirror. It's just going to be a smooth brick. But as soon as you start removing the coverings off your nature, then bit by bit things brighten up. So that's the notion of ignorance, okay? Now, what else? Demolish the darkness of ignorance back to the brightness of the nature. And, wowie, here we go, 能干结爱于大海. Ooh. Dry up the great ocean of love and desire. This is difficult concept. Okay, let's take it from the back. Desire and love. Desire, again from the technical Buddhist point of view, it would be something that pulls you out into your environment. Something you really want bad. That's desire. And usually they divide it into 5 coarse desires and 5 subtle desires. The 5 coarse desires are, they say, wealth, sex, fame, food, sleep. That's the word-by-word translation. Wealth would be money and stuff, possessions. Sex would be attraction outside of committed relationship, traditionally outside of marriage, right? So promiscuity would be the desire for sex. Fame doesn't mean I only want to be famous. It means including I want to be liked. I want attention and interest, sustained interest from other people until my desire for fame is satisfied. But the nature of these desires is they can't be satisfied. They're like a flame that keeps burning. Desire is described eloquently in Buddhist sutras as a flame. No amount of stuff puts the flame out. The more you feed it, the hotter it burns. Okay, so fame in Chinese is Ming, name. So you can also put in here face, the craving for face, right? That other people respect me enough so that I go, okay, I'm well enough known. You give me enough face. I can now let that go. That's not the nature of desire. Wealth, sex, fame, food. What's wrong with food? Nothing. We need enough, but it's that more and more craving, the insufficiency that makes it a desire. And then sleep. Wait a minute. What's wrong with sleep? Again, same process. You say, it's not sleep. It's craving for physical comfort, satisfaction for the body when your mattress is finally soft enough, when your car seat is sufficiently cushy, when you ride in enough style to satisfy your craving for comfort. When is that? Never quite enough, right? So the key to understanding this list of 5 desires is the difference between need and greed. And if in my life I can catch that line when the basics we need wealth, we need cai shai. If we're householders, if we're people who live at home in a community, then having a wholesome marriage relationship sticks the family together. That's what you want. From that comes a good community. From that comes a good nation. From that comes a harmonious world. So, what's need? What is greed? Know that line. Fame, food, and sleep, same thing. So, the 5 desires by themselves are not bad. And people give the Buddha a bad rap. They say, oh man, you Buddhas, wealth, sex, fame, food, and sleep are all bad. I'm out of here. Christianity didn't seem quite so bad. It's like Judaism was even better. They celebrate, all that good stuff. So that's a slam on the Dharma. That's to misunderstand the Dharma. The Buddha is not saying wealth, sex, fame, food, and sleep are bad. He is saying when you desire and crave those things to the point where you blur the line between need and greed, and it becomes greed, and then all kinds of mischief happens. You start to define yourself by how much money, how many relationships, how famous, how much quality of food. Where the food becomes greed and desire is better and better flavor, right? Oh, I never tried venison. Anybody sell dead deer meat around here? I've never tried monkey brains. I've never tried dog. All the things that people, snake. Wow, people go nuts with flavor. None of it is needed, and it does take lives, and it doesn't help your health, but something about that new flavor. Fugu, that was always the one. Fugu in Japan, right? You all know about fugu fish? Fugu in Japanese. The fugu is a poisonous fish. And it's craved as a delicacy because when you eat it, if it's prepared correctly and the poison has been removed completely, there's a little trace and it makes your tongue tingle. Like that. And if the fugu butcher, preparer, was not skillful and doesn't cut out the poison sacs quite right, you die. And every year in Japan, there are people who eat, it's a Russian roulette fish. It's like you always try it. We got away with it. Oh, your tongue's tingling. Oh, pay a lot for that, right? Special fish. So, funny, huh? We do that for flavor. Wow. Fugu. What a gourmet treat. With the hint that maybe you'll die. So, pretty good. Absinthe, right? Absinthe, this green liquor. In France, absinthe is made from wormwood. Wormwood is Artemisia, and it's deadly poison. But absinthe was this similar situation where it gets you, the high that you get off absinthe is like no other, but if it's made badly, if you drink too much of it, you will die. And so what a wonderful beverage. Very French, You can drink enough absinthe and write poetry, Like Malraux, Les Fleurs de Mal, Balzac. So, yeah, we're funny people like that. And so that's where the desire for food becomes, where natural need to eat and sleep and enough and drink becomes desire. So, what's that line between need and greed? And then sleep is the same. So, that's it. Love and desire. Great ocean. There's never enough. Okay, here we have the Buddha's time. And there was a group of monks, kind of the second wave that followed the Buddha to leave home. And among them were a group of monks, 6 bhikshus. And these monks were really, what? They were, you could say they were the Buddha's karmic obstacles. Although he didn't have that kind of karma, still, a lot of the precepts came into being because of this group of monks. And, okay, they had already renounced all of the pleasures of the world. They had limited their spending money, their gold, their houses, their relationships, their families. They'd let go of all of their possibility of getting famous, of giving their parents grandchildren, and all of those things that an ordinary person would think is the best part of life, right? And they let all of that go. They had taken the precepts. They lived in a community with other monks. Get up on a board, go to sleep on a board, get up on a board when it's still dark, where the dew is out and it's cold, to chant and to follow the Buddha walking around through India, no good food. They renounced a lot of renunciation. But when it came time to get the last thing that monks can get, which is what? Robes. Robes and bowls. San yi bo ju are the possessions of a monk. 3 robes, a bowl, and a sitting cloth. That's the fundamental possessions of monks. The thing that you actually do own that's different, your bowl, your robes. What did they do? They competed for the finer robe. They went out into the lay community and said, wow, that's really nice wool cloth. I like the full worsted herringbone. If anybody made an offering of cloth like that, they would get great merit. Let me tell you how much merit you would get if you made an offering to a certain monk of that cloth. And the layman's going, oh, really? How much would you like? Immediately hooked in, because here's the monk, the holy man, telling him, give me this cloth and you'll get a lot of merit. Of course you want to make him. So these monks got my robe. Did you notice? What is it? It's just greed for a BMW translated into your robe. It's the same old greed, just crushed down into the last thing you can own. So the Buddha had to make rules about the robes and how you get them and how, why? It's an ocean of greed and desire. It's profound. And it's what kills us. It takes us right to death every time. Because the fundamental principle that the Prince Siddhartha discovered was that in this body, without adding anything, he, and by extension we, that means you and I, have everything we need to become greatly wise, greatly compassionate. We don't lack it in the least. And as soon as we go running out through our 6 senses to find the stuff that we think is missing, we start layering on the ignorance over our nature. That's this fundamental principle that is so hard to catch. It's so hard to catch because desire shoots out our eyes and ears at the speed of light. Oh, I want that. Oh, I want that. And we each have different things we want. I remember Master Hua talking about one of the early left-home people, one of the early monks at Gold Mountain Monastery, one of the first 5, doesn't matter who it was. He had not recognized his desire for wealth, money. And he really was a monk, and Shifu spent a lot of time with him. But his big thing was wealth and money. And it got to be a joke around Gold Mountain that the only way his parents could get his attention would be if they wrote a note on the back of a check made out to him for a certain amount of money. They had a chance to getting the note to him if he turned the check over to read it. Otherwise, he paid no attention to his parents at all. But if they would write a $100 check and say, "Dear son, please don't forget your grandmother's birthday," then they had a chance of getting his attention. It's the only way. His eyes would turn red at the sight of money, said our teacher. So you go, yeah, that's strong. That's a strong thing. So the great ocean of love and desire is not love like, okay, I've been working on the word desire. I gave you the 5 course. There are 5 subtle desires. 5 subtle desires. What are they? That's the desire that sages still have not entirely cut through. What is it? The desire for sights, sounds, smells, tastes, sensations of touch. It's really hard to let go subtle pleasure. To what degree? You can get attached to your meditation. How does that work? Sometimes you can sit still and you've let go wealth, sex, fame, food, and sleep. Let them go. They're not an important part of your life. Excuse me one second. Your body can be really calm and quiet. Your mind can be really mellow and still. But as you're sitting there, you can have this sensation of ease, qing'an, lightness, ease, kind of a tranquility, even a sense of being free of your body, and get attached to it, and go right from need to greed. It can happen, and those are the subtle desires that even profound meditators can attach to. So you can't, this ocean of love and desire is really amazing. To tell you the whole story, if you flip it over from love and desire to hate and aversion, that can also impede you. It's not that you love stuff. You are a misanthrope, someone who is unhappy always. And you get to the place where you just hate everything. Because why? You're a tough cultivator. You're so pure that you stink, and you just make everything around you something to run away from. So it's motion towards, to grab and own and possess, and motion away from, to get rid of and purge and annihilate. Okay? How can the wish to get rid of a race of human beings liberate anybody? Right? This will be a better world if that group of people is gone, says so-and-so dictator. Okay? How can, on the face of it, suppose you suddenly change the focus and it's that group now, or that group and that group, and finally there's nobody left, right? So, the Buddha, what I like about the Dharma is identifying this as a what? A great ocean where we drown. And yet, the Buddha is not saying, therefore you're bad and evil. He's saying, dry it up. Leave this ocean. 回头是岸. Turn your head around and you recognize the process, you have safely crossed this ocean of love and desire. The path out is just in turning it around. All right. So, these analogies, right? Natural images for what the Buddha says is wrong with us. This is the doctor giving us our prescription, our diagnosis. They do not seek the great sagely guide with the 10 powers. This is number 9. Okay, 不求实力大圣导师. What would it mean to seek the 10 powers big sage guide, big wise guide? All right. I came prepared tonight. We run into this term a lot. 10 powers. 实力. Dashabala. Dashabala. What are they? I wanted to go through them tonight because we've, maybe once a month, this phrase pops up in the sutra. When you become a bodhisattva at a certain stage, when you graduate to that level of skill, when you become a Buddha, one of the things that happens is from your nature, from your kind of hardwired, built right in, like a program on your hard drive, is this thing called the 10 powers, the Shi Li, sometimes called the 10 wisdom powers, the Shi Zhi Li. And the Buddhas have a set and bodhisattvas have a set. They're only off by a little bit. They're slightly different. I wanted to let you know what they are tonight, to run through these 10 and identify why you would want to seek the great sage guide of the 10 powers. What are the 10 powers? The 10 powers are 10 tools for accomplishing your vows if you are a bodhisattva or a Buddha. What makes a bodhisattva a bodhisattva? Well, among other things, it's having made a vow to save people. Think about a doctor, the Hippocratic Oath. Doctors go through this intense period of education, and before they officially become an MD, a medical doctor, they take the Hippocratic Oath. It says, I will never use these skills to harm, I will always use these skills to benefit. Okay? It's a vow. Bodhisattvas do the same kind of thing. They say, living beings are numberless. There's so many. Even so, I want to help them out. Why? Because they are me. We share a body. They're hurting. I'm no longer hurting because of the vows I've taken and the meditation that I do and the skills that I have and what I understand and see and know, and I can help them. So I'm gonna. That's my wish. That's what I'm here to do. There's a bodhisattva's vow, okay? Because of that, bit by bit, they acquire the means to do that. The 10 powers are how they help. This is an incredible list of stuff makes you wish you had. Oh, is that a desire? You bet. Man, if you had these 10 vows, the 10 powers, you could actually help your parents out. You could make a difference in the lives of the people around you with no mistake, no error, no wasted time, no confusion, because why? Every word you said would hit the mark. All right, what are they? 10 abilities. It's I'll read them to you. 知觉处非处智力. These are all 智力, wisdom powers. What is it? 知, the verb is to know. In this case, it's 知觉, to know and to sense. 处非处. What is the case and what is not the case? In other words, you are tuned into reality completely for this person. What is the case for this person? They're male. No, they're female. They are old. No, they're young. They are raised in an Asian world. No, they're raised in a Latin American world. Okay? They speak this language. They don't speak this. 除非处之理. The knowledge that what is the case and what is not the case. That's number one. Why? You scope in. You tune in to this living being who you are going to take across. You're going to wake them up. You're going to heal their pain. All right? If you knew that, pretty clearly you're closer to being able to help them out. Number two, 知, they know, the verb, 三世业报, 知力. You know their karma and its rewards in the 3 periods of time. You know what they've done from the past, you see what they're doing now, and you can project what they will be receiving in the future based on what they did and what they're doing. Okay? So you can, suddenly you place them in their karmic web. You are a very skillful doctor if you can analyze them to this point. This is a wisdom power. What does wisdom do? Remember our quick and dirty definition? Wisdom sees through the surface. Wisdom penetrates the exterior and goes into the real heart of it. If you're an auto mechanic, you hone right in on what's wrong with the car. If you are a kindergarten teacher, you look at the kid and you know why they're crying. Okay, if you're a marriage counselor, you take one look and you know where the problem is, because you have wisdom. All right, got it? All right. Number 3, 知诸禅解脱三昧智力. You know the dhyanas, the liberations, and the samadhis. Wisdom power. You have the wisdom power that knows all Chan, Jietuo, Sanmei. The dhyanas, the liberations, and the samadhis. In other words, you're a meditation master. Okay? You got all those, advanced meditation states down cold. Why? So you can be unmoved in the face of all the stuff that's chaos in most people's lives. Most people's lives are pretty chaotic. Whatever, dude, comes and goes, unstopping, ceaselessly, coming and going like tide, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. If you have knowledge of the samadhis, the dhyanas, and the liberations, you don't move. You're steady. You get a firm knowledge of where north is. Man, the winds blow so hard it blows you all around. North is still north. And you know it. Because why? You have samadhi. That's very helpful if you want to cross living beings over. These wisdom powers are so helpful. Right, what else? Number 4. 知主根胜烈. 知力. You know the faculties of living beings in their excellence and their deficiency. 诸根胜烈. Right? You know the faculties, living beings' abilities, when they're 胜力, and they're also,这个有缺点, right? They're really good, their hearing is really skillful, but their vision is weak. All right? Their faculties. They're really, really compassionate, but they've got no common sense. All right? You recognize, because you have that 智力, wisdom power. If you can see that, you are way ahead in being able to help. Okay? You see, getting the pattern, what these are like? These are 10 power tools that bodhisattvas and Buddhas get. And there is a state, there's a time in your practice where these things arrive. Where do they come from? Inside. Because every one of us, sitting right where we're sitting, has got them in full, but they're covered over. We don't know how to operate that program yet. Okay? Number 5. 知种种解智力. You know the many kinds of understandings that living beings have. You know what this person understands. For example, do they speak French? If so, you can use that. Do they speak Portuguese? If so, you can use that. Do they read Chinese? If so, you can use that, right? That's one kind of understanding. Are they a good cook? If they understand how to turn food into nutrition, how to turn materials into food, nutrition, then you can use that as a database to teach them, etc., right? 种种解, what do they understand? Next one, number 6, 知种种界智力. You know their realms. 世界的界, 法界的界. You know where they came from. What is their state? This person is profoundly intuitive. If you know they're intuitive, you can infer stuff. This person is a doer. They get it when they feel it. They love speed because they get their nervous system comes alive when they move fast. Don't expect to be subtle with them, but if you can move them through action, they get it. That's their jie for that person. Different for each person. Okay? So far, so good. Review. We've got 处非处理. You know what is the case with them, their basic makeup. 2, 三世业报, their karma, karmic matrix, past, present, and future. 3, 禅解脱三昧, dhyanas, samadhis, liberations. You know those states, so you can. That's your basis for teaching. 4, 诸根胜劣, their faculties, in their supremacy and deficiency. Right? Everybody's different. You can recognize right away where this person is. What else? 中中解, their understandings. 中中戒, where their realms, their states. Where have they been? Have they been a human for a long time, or have they recently arrived from the animals realm? Could they have been a deva who fell? Last life they were a deva. They're on their way down now. But they bring a lot of blessings with them. Rich people, perhaps, came from that situation. Okay, what's next? Number 7. This is fascinating. 知一切智所到, 智力. Look at this. They know all arriving that which path. They know where all living beings' paths ultimately lead. What does that mean? If you have this wisdom power, the person that you're trying to help out, with the first step, you know where they're going. With the step in the other direction, you know where that one leads. Because why? You are so clear on cause and effect that with the first step out, you know. Anybody play Go, the Japanese checkers, chess game? Any Go players? The little black stones, black and white stones, right? That's not Wei Qi, it's not Jun Qi. What do you call it? 什么qi? 中文叫什么? 中文有没有? 没有了哈，就是日本的哈。So, Go is this wonderful game of stones. You cover the board with black and white stones. And I've never played it, but I've read descriptions of it. And when you get good at this game, the first move immediately eliminates half of the options and lights up the other half. With the second stone, a quarter are left. With the third move, you know pretty much what's going to happen in the game. And it's very psychological and very spiritual. It's a wonderful, incredible game. Go, G-O, right? And I've read some beautiful descriptions of masters who are so good at this that it's kind of like as you type letters into Google, if you have the intuitive search function, choices sort themselves out, right? A Go player's mind is the same way. With this wisdom power, each step shows you where it's going to wind up. How wonderful if you were trying to teach somebody, if you knew where each step leads, ultimately, so that you can steer people towards or away from all those, the future destination. Cool. Very cool. Okay, number 8. 知天眼无碍, 智力. Which is this? This is the Deva eye. The Deva's vision. Sometimes we translate it as the heavenly eye. Heavenly is not, it's not a value judgment. It's not, oh, heavenly, cool, far out. It's not that kind of heavenly. It's the celestial vision. You have the knowledge of the celestial vision. That kind of wisdom. What is that? It sees through the human realm into other realms. Sees the hells, sees the heavens. Right now, as they're going full blast. That's one of the shantong, yes it is, one of the psychic abilities. It's also one of the wuyan, the 5 eyes, the 5-fold spiritual vision. So, here's one place where the 10 wisdom powers overlaps the 6 psychic powers and the 5 spiritual eyes, spiritual kinds of vision. Okay, there's one. Next one, what is that? 知宿命无漏, 智力. You know past lives without any outflows. The wisdom power that knows past lives. Okay, what is that? Another one of the psychic powers. This is interesting. This is one of the places where the actual Buddha Dharma overlaps something that I grew up with, but knew very imperfectly. Sometimes people would claim that they knew past lives. Did you ever talk to a fortune teller or Madam who? Usually she had a Russian name or a gypsy name. Madam Olga. Madam Olga knows the future. All secrets revealed. And always was love, money. Right? Those are the two things that people ask most about. Love and money. Unless you're Chinese. What do Chinese people ask the fortune teller? Number one question, if you're Chinese and you ask the fortune teller, should I go into business? That's the number one question. Should I go into business to make more money? Really, that's what they say. So, should we open a little store on the side? You know. So, Madame Olga was usually, she'd wear a turban and have a jewel right here, you know. And Madame Olga usually would tell you that she knew where you had been in a past life. And where did she tell you? It was always, almost always something wonderful. Oh, you were Cleopatra. Oh, you were Napoleon. You know, something like that. Some famous historical person. Rarely did they say, oh, you were a dung beetle, you know, somewhere below the market, you know. You were a cripple who died of the plague early, you know. You didn't make it past your third birthday that life, you know. No, she didn't say that. That was probably more likely, you know. You were drowned in the great flood of Johnstown flood. Nah, it was always you were someone who you wanted to be, right? So, when you have the Xu Ming Tong, those of you who were with us when we went through the third ground, remember the third ground? Not that long ago. I think it was last spring. The third ground told in detail what this ability knows. This ability, the Xu Ming Tong, the knowledge of past lives, can tell you what you had for breakfast, what your surname was, where you lived in lifetimes beyond counting in the past. That precise. Knowing without error, it says wulo, no outflow. Knowing precisely what your wife's name was, what your children's name were, in which lifetime, in the past, in the past, in the past. And every other life along the way. It's not, oh, once upon a time you were so-and-so. No, like in the infinite numbers of lives you've had, focusing down, here's the one where you first made the Bodhi resolve and decided that the best thing to do was to wake up. Better than getting rich. So, that's how powerful this is. If you have that zhi li, guess what? You can say the right thing to the person you want to take across so they wake up. These all come back to power tools for waking people up. That's what they're about. Okay, last one. Last one. Zhi yong duan xi qi zhi li. You have the knowledge to forever, eternally stop, duan, xi qi, your habits. How about that? The 10th one, which, you know, you think must be like the penultimate, this must be the most important one given the place, is what? You can stop your habits. What that means is, how strong are our habits? Oh boy. That's the number 10, meaning the most important usually, or number 1, number 10, is the ability to cut off your habits forever. What is that? Honestly, I'm in awe of this one, because several times Master Hua would, when he would be teaching you about something, and there was a moment when you could kind of make some progress, he would occasionally say things that would just stagger. He would say to me, Guojan, in the future, he'd say, try not to have so much stuff. He said, Shifu, you mean I'm going to get enlightened? Guojan, don't have so much stuff. Don't scatter. You scattered for countless lifetimes. Just try not to have so much stuff, Guojan. Okay, Shifu. That's pretty profound, Shifu. No, it's not. It's really sad, that's what you're... And he would say, he told me that I had been a doctor for countless lifetimes. He said, this time, why don't you try to be a Dharma doctor, Guojan? Okay, Shifu. And what did I do? Oh, I heard an echo up in the other. There's a habit. No, thank you, go home. I shouldn't make fun of my translator. Okay, we are very grateful for that. And by the way, our balcony has become the hot spot. This is the place to be on a Saturday night. Our balcony is jammed. It's great. So, what would Shifu say? He would say, if you could make a little bit of progress in this lifetime, that's what we're aiming for. He says, if you can take one step forward and leave your habits behind, that's doing your part. That's what cultivation does. And when you hear this, you think, but Shifu, I thought I was going to get enlightened to become a Buddha. And he would say you make incremental progress over eons of time. Bit by bit by bit. He would say, 往好了做. Go for the good. Just try to be good this time. That sure doesn't sound like what I thought, I was hoping for enlightenment in technicolor, with bugles. Just try to be good this time, just take a little bit step forward. And if you could do that, he would say, that's really good. Because mostly, what do we do mostly? We go downstream, mostly. Flowing with our habits. Why? Habits feel good. Going against our habits feels like death. Right? Really changing doesn't feel good. It's uncomfortable to really actually take a stand against the torrent of habit and desire and becoming. Right? These are the profound torrents. And they just roll us. What's for sure? We're sure going to die. For sure. Because why? We're made of these conditions that have a lifespan. When their time's up, they break apart and we're once again looking for a womb. Once again looking for something familiar. Oh, there it is. That's my mom. I'm back. And what do? We follow conditions, what feels good. That's normal. Normal. And that's really normal. And what is normal? Birth and death. Samsara is normal. So to actually, at any point in that process, go, I think I'm going to cultivate. I've heard there's liberation at the end of this process. And birth and death is same old, same old. What is same old, same old? Let it go. Downstream we go. Effortless. If you don't believe it, what are you going to do at your Christmas party this year? What's the Christmas party's going to Reno, Harris Club. Going to Tahoe, yeah. Brand new casino. And what's it like? It's so easy just to go, you just place a bet, you just go to that restaurant, you go see the act, and 4 days later you stumble out into the sunlight and you've lost all the stuff. Just go back to work another year. And then next year, the office party, somebody says, hey, why don't, come on, I got a ticket. Take the train this time, It's a party train. Okay, sounds like fun. Whew. It's really easy. But if somebody says, this year, I heard there's going to be a 3-day Chan at City of 10,000 Buddhas. And you go, I don't think so. It's so cold up there. You know, last time, man, it took me a week to get my legs back last time. It was miserable, the food, and, you know, I got a cold, and, oh, it was just horrible. Why? Because it's hard. The bugs don't like that experience. And yet, at the very, very, very least, if you go to the city of 10,000 Buddhists, you didn't go to the casino that time. And you still had some money, you didn't get into that fight, you didn't get hungover, you didn't get your pocket picked, you didn't cash your car in because you knew that Lady Luck was going to visit you for that last bet. You know, you avoided the evils, they say, that's a technical term. No matter whether you got enlightened or not on the retreat, at least you didn't do the other stuff. And from Shifu's point of view, that's really good. To say, 往好了做, you know, try your best, go towards the good, go towards the light. Just that is 断习气. But it sure feels bad. It's, cutting off bad habits is a very hard sell. Because why? It doesn't feel good. Going against the grain doesn't feel right. It's uncomfortable. You know, and how can something uncomfortable be right? We are a culture where it's got to feel good. Doesn't feel good, pop a pill. We do that. We feel that comfort and ease and pleasure is our share. If we're not getting the good stuff, there's something wrong. We better reach for our credit card and get the good stuff. That's how it is. And, you know, it's not news. I'm just saying it. That's the way it is. I certainly know this. A little bit cold, not good. A little bit scratchy, not good. A little bit plain, not good. We're in a culture where we have to feast every meal. Every meal has got to be special flavor. How many times have we been satisfied with oatmeal? Oatmeal is like so, bleh. Potatoes and cabbage. Definitely fill your stomach. You'll thrive on potatoes and cabbage. Tastes like nothing. We want to add the fancy seasoning. We get used to it. You're supposed to. Right? I'm living it up. How many, we forget so quickly. Meat, in my mother's generation, meat was a banquet. Meat at all was a banquet. Bacon at breakfast, maybe on Christmas, maybe on a birthday, you know. Turkey, that was Thanksgiving only, right? And steak and stuff, no way. Couldn't afford it. There wasn't any. Go to the market, couldn't find it, right? But now it's like meat every meal. It's become standard. So we just get used to that really quickly since the Green Revolution. After World War II, we had to ramp up production to feed the troops. We discovered phosphate fertilizer, chemical fertilizer. Put that on this plot of ground and you triple the output of the crops. Oh, it must be good. Never mind that chemical fertilizer goes into the groundwater and it turns it poison. And all those crops, what do you do with all those crops? Well, we got to feed them somewhere. Feed them to, let's find some cows. Suddenly, the one plot of land, cows were there to give you milk for your family. Now, let's raise 12 cows and eat 6 of them. You know, suddenly all this meat. Got to eat the meat, so it becomes blah, 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 right? And once you start this cycle, it's really hard to go back. It's really hard to say, no, we're not meant to eat meat. Like, how many times a week? 3 times 7, 21 times a week? That's, you know, my mother still doesn't. But that's her experience during the Depression. Meat was rare, you know. So, now, there is a disciplined layman. He goes for the empty seat in front. Yay, Jason. Okay, 5 points. All right. So, get the point, right? The 10th wisdom power is what? The power of knowing how to eternally cut off living beings' habits so they don't come back. To reroute that river. How do you change the course of a river? It's hard, especially once it gets set in, you know, but that when you get the habit. If you know how to do it, you can actually help people wake up. Okay, that's the list. Those are the 10. Aren't those interesting? The 10 bodhisattvas' power tools for waking living beings up. What is it? The great sagely guide with the 10 powers. We don't go near him because he might help us out. Living beings, says our bodhisattva, are so sad because they don't seek the great sagely guide with the 10 powers. They will run away from him. Okay. What else? What did they do? Our last one. 入魔意愁林. They enter the dense forest of the demon's intent. Oh boy. What is the demon's intent? To Mara, it's neat in Buddhism. Demons get a real personal depiction in Buddhism. It's not just Satan, this god who fell, right? Demons are called, Mara is called Sha. Mara means the killer, a murderer. Demons are beings who can be saved ultimately, but their purpose is to destroy your wisdom so that you don't leave birth and death and their control. So it talks about the dense forest. A dense forest is a place you can't find your way out. So what do living beings do? They go right there, right into the dense forest where they lose their wisdom. Finally, the last line, 于生死海中为觉观波涛之所漂溺. In the sea of birth and death, they're tossed about by the waves of awakenings and contemplations. Oh boy. Picture language, more picture language. We had darkness of ignorance, the ocean of love and desire, a great guide who knows the way out and can direct you there, but you don't go, a dense forest, and waves on the water. So, in this section, the Buddha is using these natural pictures to show us what he, as a doctor, prescribes as our sickness. He diagnoses our illness. Living beings are sick. We are not at ease. We have dis-ease. We are ill. We need healing. And this is what the bodhisattva does when he looks at us. How interesting, huh? Bodhisattva goes, yeah, boy. I wish I could make it hurt less, but you have to be sick of being sick. You have to know you're sick and want to get rid of it before you can really, really get well. If you're sick and you don't recognize it, you never take the medicine. How many doctors get so frustrated because they do an accurate job of telling you what's wrong? They do a really good job of prescribing the medicine, and they give it to you, and guess what? You put it on the shelf and never take it, or you chuck it out. So many doctors. Why? Medicine's bitter. Doesn't taste good. Just that, There's a habit. It tastes bitter on the tongue, we don't take it. But that wonderful, wonderful idiom in Chinese. What is it? 好药苦口 而利于病. Right? Good medicine is bitter to the taste, but it cures your illness. 善成言逆耳而利于行. 度成言 利好言善言 Good words are hard on the ear, but they really straighten you out. Okay, when somebody gives you good advice that doesn't please your ego, we discard it. But it's really, if we took that advice, we'd do better. That's a great idiom, right? 好药苦口而利于病. Really good medicine, it's bitter, but it helps you out. I'm going to ask everybody who is checking their email and phone and text to please shut it off, including myself. Okay, there we go. We're in the Buddha Hall. All right. Here we go. Powerful stuff. Amazing, right? Where are those 10 powers? They're inside. You could probably get the list here, but you can't get the actual 10 powers here. And yet, it's analogous, right? This would be the new analogy. It's not the forest and the waves. It's in your iPhone, in the nature of your iPhone, the 10 powers are hidden, but you don't know where to look. So, can we punch a button, the 4, and then swipe, and then up comes, pop, up comes the 10 powers app. Oh, that's right. Very cool. Unfortunately, the bandwidth is down, so it's offline. Oh, rats. All right, it's time to transfer the merit. Glad you all came in. As we transfer merit, did Gojen make it? Are you here? Did that happen? What we were talking about? It did, okay, good. So, Gojen and I were talking earlier today about the typhoon, and there are some folks who have asked how to send aid. What to do if you want to help out. And I was listening to NPR while driving, and the radio had a Philippine musician from LA who was saying there's a problem giving to the Philippine government. She said our government is not known for delivering aid to where it's meant to go. She said, it's corrupt. She said, I'm quoting. I don't know that's true, but that's what the person said on the radio. So, where do you give money if you want to give money? And our very own Buddhist Global Relief, BGR, Bhikkhu Bodhi, has a website, Buddhist Global Relief, where you can find minimum 3, if maybe more, places that if you give money, it will connect with the people who actually need it, instead of disappearing into some bureaucratic pocket. So that's one way, is if you want to go online, you can give money that way. Gojen brought a box where if you don't want to go online and don't have a means for doing that, if you put money in a box tonight, that will be available at the end of the lecture, that the money will connect with places where it can be used in the Philippines. So it was the superstorm of all superstorms, Hurricane Haiyan, also called Leonora, is that what they call it? And Yolanda in Asia, that was the name, it's a different name. And it just took cities off the map. Tacloban is the name of the city that was hit hardest, and it was a modern, prosperous town, reduced to sticks. No water, no food, no shelter, no roof, nothing except flat. I saw the aerial maps before and after, and you just think, gee, you don't want to live there. And the people who did perished. So if you would like to transfer merit, invisibly send goodness to them, that's a really good place, but where you send your merit is up to you. So let's do it with a big heart. Every living being, our minds as one and radiant, rely hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see, our hands and hearts can find unity. May their minds away to great compassion, wisdom, and truth. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light break the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Let's see here. When I saw all of the college students come in all at once, it was great. It took me back. Those of you looking this way didn't see it, but 5 minutes ago we had an influx of youthful energy. Very beautiful. It reminded me of the days when we used to have story time. Remember story time? Some of you were here. Some of you were tiny. You used to all come sit in front. Story time? And wowee, that was inspiring to see back then. And I used to go to the Berkeley Library, the children's floor, and read up. So I would have a new story every week. And seeing everybody come in, I just thought, wow, story time, story time. I thought of a story that had to do with billowing waves tossing the ocean of birth and death. I was a merchant seaman. I was a sailor. In 1969, Sealand Service Company on the USS Oakland, heading for Oakland, California. And I was a messmate third class, the lowest of the low. There was no other pay grade lower than mine. And I had come from living 3 months in a Buddhist monastery, a Zen monastery called Antai-ji. Antai-si. And at Antai-ji, we ate vegetables. That was a good thing. Except when it was time for me to leave at the end, the monks put on their woven hats and their straw sandals and went out. Takohatsu. Takohatsu is they were begging, not alms, they were begging. What were they begging for? Money so they could buy sukiyaki, niku, buy some gyunyu, niku, buy some beef for the sukiyaki for my farewell party. It's like, and the money they got, they used on Suntory whiskey and Kirin biru. Kirin beer and Suntory whiskey to go with the sukiyaki for the beef. It's like, there's something wrong with this. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I didn't think Buddhists ate, meat and drank Suntory whiskey. They said, Kuri-san, anata no tanjoubi desu. It's your birthday, you're going away. So I said, okay, fine. Something wrong with this picture. I'd never heard of the precepts, but I knew in my heart that was not quite right. Anyway, so I had been eating vegetables for 3 months. Nothing, and they really simple, really simple, delicious, wonderful Zen acrobatic food. And mostly rice and vegetables. And so Gary Snyder, the poet, had told me that instead of paying for a plane ticket to get out of Japan when it's time to go, he said, if you show up at the Sea Merchant Mariners Union in Kobe, and it happens that they need a seaman, you'll get the job on the spot, and you'll come home with $300 in your pocket instead of paying that for an airplane ticket, and you might even get your Merchant Mariners Union card, which is much more valuable. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to check that out. My choices were the Trans-Siberian Railroad, which I thought would be very cool. Go back around the other way, or Merchant Marine, or get an airplane. So I went to the Kobe Merchant Mariners Union one morning, and sure enough, a job popped up on the board right away, and I had an American passport, no immigration issues. You want the job? You got the job. Messmate 3rd class. USS Oakland. Show up in Yokohama Harbor on the right day, and you got the job. I'll do it, by golly. So I showed up on the right day, Yokohama Harbor, got on board, and stepped into Cleveland, Ohio. As soon as I stepped on board of that ship, I was in Cleveland, Ohio. Culture, including food, including the food that one would eat in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, or Laredo, Texas, or, Southfield, Michigan. There I was. And immediately they said, well, you're the new guy, huh? All right, it's lunchtime. What was for lunch? Ham with all the trimmings, pork chops with all the gravy, and spaghetti and meatballs for lunch, including 4 kinds of dessert. So I'm going, food. I was not a vegetarian at that point, right? Start eating, filling my stomach with all the food that I had not eaten for 4 months. And I was 19 years old. I was hungry, So it's like, really good. What's for dinner? And dinner was like lunch times 3, all this food. It was American cuisine at its fine, because you eat really well. That's why these sailors get really big, because they're just sitting there watching their meters and their dials and their steam and eating food. So I ate and ate like for 2 days because I was early and we hadn't left port. So I'm like, and my job was basically to wash dishes and make the salads. That was all I had to do. And I had the stainless steel galley. And I was the messmate 3rd class, which means I did the dishes and I made the salads. Salads were iceberg lettuce with tomatoes, occasional carrots. That was it. So it's like, ready to go. I ate so much I just barely walk. And it's pretty good. I like this, it's really good. And so it's, time to leave port. Something starts to rumble. And this was a converted C4, the largest cargo ship on the seas. Huge engines. And boom, 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 starts up. Something's rumbling underneath, low decks below. Boom, 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 boom. We're moving. We're moving. Hey, this is not bad. I kind of like the sensation of moving in Yokohama Harbor. And we've reached the harbor out past the seawater breakwall, and we're kind of out at sea. And I notice there's something different now. And it's like, oh. And then, and then it combines with a vroom, vroom. And then it gets deeper, it goes vroom. And then vroom, like that. And pretty soon I'm going, I wish it would stop that. I'm not feeling very well. And it gets so it's dipping and it's sliding at the same time. Welcome to the Pacific Ocean. And this big, huge cargo ship, and we're in the back, we're aft, down below, and it starts to like that, and my stomach and my feet and my head are in 3 different places, and I start to vomit. Seasick and seasick and seasick. And guess what? My job is to wash the dishes and make the salads, and you damn well better wash the dishes and make the salads, because that's your job, kid. You know? It's like, I feel terrible, you know. So I would work for 5 minutes and then take refuge under the stainless steel cabinet, just kind of curled up in a fetal position on the deck, like that, down below in the galley. And the cook was a Swede, and his name was Lars. Lars the cook. Lars the cook had a filthy mouth. He knew every dirty joke ever told. And everyone else on board had heard all his dirty jokes, and I was the new audience. So he could start at the top and give me all. And he had this way of, he would tell you the story and then turn his back for the punchline. And he would deliver the punchline walking away from you. He would just, you hear the one about the women in the bar, and then she says to him, and he says, turn around and walk away with the punchline over his shoulder. And it was very skillful delivery for jokes. And my ears were filled with this filthy stuff. You know, it's like profoundly dirty jokes. Sailors' jokes, right? And then he would walk away and I would be... And out of 3 days, the only thing I wanted was to raise up off the deck 2 inches. That's all I wanted. So I didn't have to... like that. If you just feel just a little bit of air between me and the deck would have been fine, you know, just so I could just kind of float there. But no, I had to... And then we hit a storm. It was actually the tail end of a hurricane, of a typhoon. Hurricane, we call it. And we went way up to near the North Pole to go around it. We were like 600 miles north of our intended course to avoid a storm, like pilots will climb to avoid turbulence, right? And up there, it was freezing, icy cold, and it was still the tail end of this storm. It was like a dragon. So we were in 60-foot waves. Imagine how tall is 60 feet? It's up there. And we're like climbing up the waves so that we can go down and climb. And the ship must stay in the right to cut the waves, because if you get in the trough, 60 feet of water falls on you. So you have to stay just right. Okay, and so part of my job is to dump the trash. I have to dump the trash, right? And how do you dump the trash? Where does the trash go? On a cargo ship, it goes in the water. How do you dump the trash? Not inside, outside. How do you go outside to dump the trash? Carefully. You have to open the hatch. Climb the ladder and open the hatch. And then, when you open the hatch, you have a deck. And the deck is icy, and the wind is blowing, 30 knots, 30 miles an hour, so hard it will blow you against the cabin wall, as long as the ship is oriented this way. But as soon as the ship goes into the trough, that same wind will blow you over the rail at 30 miles an hour. Okay, so you have to time it so you run to the rail when you're aiming up. And you quickly dump the trash over and then turn around and go back before the ship comes back down and the wind blows you over the overboard. And does the guy there, they think it's fun to watch the new guy figure it out. They're not going to help you. It's like, yeah, we lost a bunch of them that way. Yeah, that's all right. It's all right. How you doing? Hey, this kid's not bad. Oh, let's give me a hand. All right, I'm sorry. No, that's not bad. Try it again. It's like, oh my God. So you have to kind of time the wind, time the deck, because the deck is going woo and then woo like that. And you got about 6 seconds to get down to the rail, dump it, and come back before you turn. And then, if you time the pulling of the hatch wrong, the hatch closes like that. If you have a finger out, and you lose your arm, and the hatch as it closes. A lot of fun learning that. So, and this is during the storm. So, learn all this. And I'm 3 days into it. My stomach finally rejoins the rest of my body. And I make one friend on deck. And Mr. White was the baker, the ship's baker. He's from Oakland, California. African-American gentleman. He bakes every day pies and cakes and coffee cake and biscuits and rolls and bread and, peach cobbler when he got the peaches and everything. And I thought, I would love to learn to bake the way he did. And he said, son, you get up here early enough, I'll teach you the ropes, So it's like I tried to get up and I really couldn't. Because I wanted to learn to bake, but down below the sound where the messmate third class sleeps, there's this as the steam engine, the screw is turning down there. You're down where the is turning. And you're down there, and at first it's horrible, and then pretty soon it becomes like the air. It's just where you live. And you can't really get out of there, but when you do, you kind of like, where have I been? Because it's just and it's a womb. It's just like a womb. It's your mother's heartbeat. Pretty soon that's just like where it is. And as much as I wanted to learn from Mr. White what a gentle, kind man he was, and he was friendly to me. He didn't tell dirty jokes. He was a Christian, and he and Lars did not get along. And they were working with each other. They had learned to respect each other's space. And as soon as Lars would tell one of his filthy jokes, Mr. White would just start praying, and the happy, smiling, praying, and paying no attention. And the jokes would bounce right off. So I'm learning, all the world of the ship. And I learned that my only refuge is Zazen. The meditation that I had been doing at Antaiji 5 hours a day came back. And once I got my stomach back and could stand on deck without getting sick or sliding left and right, And pretty soon it became routine, and I thought, why don't I meditate? So I tried crossing my legs on my bunk, and it's tricky to meditate and be still when you're moving like this, But I realized that if I fought it, I was always going to be knocked over. If I let my stomach relax, then stillness just meant meditating like this. And it became stillness in motion, you know, by letting this go and just kind of letting the motion. It was a moving meditation. Very wonderful. And then I saw something that changed a habit of mine. I met Channel 2. Who was Channel 2? Channel 2 came from Mississippi, and he had one of those accents that just took him twice as long to say something that we Yankees could say in half the time, you know. He had a gentle kind of accent, but he could talk on and prattle and prattle. And at first it was interesting until you realized that he didn't care if you're listening. He just needed to say the thing like that. And people would kind of just drift in and drift out, and he would just keep on going and going. What was Channel 2 waiting for? He was waiting for the ship to come close enough to port so that the TV signals would arrive. Channel 2 sat in front of the dark television set, talking to it, waiting for TV signals to reach the ship so he could watch Channel 2. He was a TV addict. But out at sea, no TV, right? So he would just sit in front of the television. Channel 2 weighed 347 pounds. Channel 2 was so big, it took him 2 chairs. He had to sit in 2 chairs. And he would sit in front of that TV and just wait, and just wait, and wait. And meanwhile, he would talk to the TV and repeat the shows that he liked, that he was waiting for, and get ready for them. And he was just as genial and friendly as could be. He was a gentleman. That was what he wanted to do. When he was off duty, he was sitting in front of the TV on 2 chairs talking to the set. A dark TV set, Channel 2. And the contents of his mind, when the TV came on, he lit up and he was absorbing his night. He'd never been to school, but he was learning everything. And he could repeat everything he saw. He had a photographic mind for garbage. The Price is Right. You know, Wheel of Fortune. You know, he just knew all the stuff. So I thought, I don't want to do that with my life. I'm not going to watch TV anymore. So Channel 2 was my good advisor from the reverse, as was Lars, the cook, and Mr. White, the baker. He was my good advisor. So I arrived first in Seattle, and then in Oakland, got off the ship, and took the money, didn't take my union card. I could have been a seaman, but I thought I better go back and finish my college. So I went back to Michigan and graduated from university. So that was my 17-day adventure as a sailor on board the USS Oakland, coming back to Oakland, California, Sealand Service Corp. So if you see those containers going down the freeway, Sealand Service, that was my company. And I could have stayed out there and become like Mr. White in Channel 2 and trying to avoid Lars's dirty jokes, but they had a way of getting in your ear, you know, and hearing that doom, 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 as the screw turned underneath your bunk. Oh, wow. And there are men and now women who live that life, and it's not bad. You have a good union, you know, it pays good money. But guess what? They are vanishing. Entire freighter lines have gone away. It's a hard life, hard time for shipping. Air freight has done away with it. And so, yep. Anyway, that's story time for tonight. I'm sure you're glad you all came in to hear that story. And if you're not, you should be, because it's rare. It's a little known chapter of my life. So, Gary Snyder was right, bless his heart. about the right way to come back from a Zen experience in Kyoto. All right. I will not see you next Saturday, nor will Jin Chuan Shi, because both of us will be in Taiwan for a short visit. And Master Jin Fan will be here to explain the Avatamsaka. And his explanations are really excellent and insightful. He's a really experienced lecturer, and we'll make sure that he's well translated. So please do come. He'll be explaining the Bodhisattva's compassion in the sutra. Otherwise, what else do we have to announce? Jin Chuan Shi, what's coming up? Marty's, who's taking Marty's Friday class? Okay. Locke, are you amongst white clouds? Yeah. Okay. A movie by a man named Ed Berger, who went to Zhongnanshan, the mountain range in China where the hermits live, and made a wonderful movie called Amongst White Clouds. And Ed Berger and I had a long conversation last week because he's making a new movie about Yunjishan Zhenru Si, True Suchness Monastery, where he has been recently for a long time. And that's where Master Shuyun spent his last years. It's where our ginkgo trees, our ginkgo seedlings came from. We were there 3 years ago. So Yunjishan is a beautiful scenic place, and he's made this footage, and he needs to finish his film. So we're going to hear more from Ed Berger, but his Amongst White Clouds are his travels to film the lives of Buddhist hermits in the mountains, many of whom live in caves, who live in remote monasteries. And he got the real stuff. So do come Friday night to catch that film. Okay, there is a new newsletter out. Angela, do you have? Tiance is happening on Tuesday. What is it? Oh, this Tuesday. This Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. Oh, I should know, because I'll be involved. This coming Tuesday is Tiance, Tea and Dharma night. Please do. Thank you for reminding us. Come over 7:30 to Tiance on 4th Street, and we're going to do some music and puppets and stories. And our topic is Dharma and the Drama. Drama and the Dharma. Drama and the Dharma. Which is talking about what do you do over the holidays when your family is fighting with each other? One might laugh. It's not an unfamiliar situation, right? What if your sisters and your mom are fighting, or what if you're fighting with your sisters, or whether it's your dad and your brothers, or whether it's you and your brothers, or your boss, or your spouse. And it's a holiday. It's supposed to be, deck the halls with boughs of holly, la 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 la. And you are looking with wrinkled brow and daggers in your eyes at the person across the lunch table from you. What do? How do you handle that? And as if I know. Come and talk to a celibate Buddhist monk if you want the real story, right? Not. But at least we can hold a space so that people can talk about it, exchange views. 7:30, Tuesday, Tiance on 4th Street in Berkeley. Do come and share your stories and your solutions. All right? Okay, any more? 还有没有? Guojian, where is that box going to be? Okay, we got it. She'll put it down, and if people would care to make an offering that we can pretty much guarantee will connect with the folks who need it. Okay, 识道之进，非道之退，在善而从，不善而改. See you in a few weeks. I want to express appreciation to the tech team that made it possible for this signal to go out. 功德无量。Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Nam